I'm Jeff Philbin, and this is Dinner DeeAs. And we're here every day to help you answer the age-old question of what's for dinner? And giving us their ideas for dinner all this week are local chefs highly rated by the Michelin Restaurant Guide, sharing their secrets to simple dishes that you can make tonight, from a family recipe for fried rice croquettes to simple Greek fish. Plus, we even do dessert with a killer streusel topping. No matter whose tires you have on your car, one thing's for sure. The folks at Michelin know what's up when it comes to delicious dinners. The anonymous inspectors for their famous restaurant guide have been scoping out the best chefs across the area since 2022. And all this week, we've been looking back on visits that we've had from just a few of their top recommendations. Besides the awards they hand out, there are another 24 local establishments they have in the guide as recommended. We have a link to the full list at dinnerdeas.com. And we're going to meet chefs from a handful of those restaurants on today's show. First up, a visit from Benjamin Clark. He's executive chef at Olivia, with restaurants in St. Pete and Tampa, where even the simplest dishes flaunt personality, according to the Michelin Guide. He joined us to share a family recipe so old, his Nona learned it from her grandma.
It's something that our family obviously talked about during holidays when my Nonna would make them. My sister and I would help her make them. Then we would enjoy them on things like Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve. And to be able to talk about it, it's exactly why we get into this business.
Most people understand what an arancini is, a fried rice ball that's going to have the meats, that's going to have the cheese, but that's not what soupli can be because it's regional.
Correct.
To a Roman inspiration.
Correct. This my Nonna's recipe also uses a little ground beef.
A little different than what
absolutely.
would be, because that would be more on that train of like an arancini, having a meat inside it.
Correct, and that's the difference. The shape also is a little different. It's more like a football. She would make them, I don't know, 4 ounces each, about this big, but you can make them a little smaller depending on what you want and how you're going to serve them.
Man, I can't wait. So what have you already started doing to get this started?
We add this tomato paste in with the ground beef, just like this, okay? And then right over the heat, we're going to add a little bit of water so that tomato paste can get incorporated into the beef.
Love it.
And then we're going to mix that all up. And this is going to be the start of the mixture that we're going to use, that we're going to end up forming in by hand. And then we're going to take that mixture and we're going to bread it later on. After we're going to fry them later on, you can serve them hot like that. You can let them cool down and serve them room temperature. And you and I were talking about, my Nonna used to send them home with us after Thanksgiving, and we'd eat them the next day, either cold right out of the fridge or microwave the next morning.
Because they had that much flavor.
Absolutely.
It was just like you couldn't wait. Was it a treat to be able to cook alongside Nonna?
It was. You know, I was very lucky. Both my parents loved to cook. It kind of gave me my inspiration to start cooking at a young age. We would make fresh pasta. She would show me how to make salads and salad dressings. And then the best part about it also is exactly what you and I are doing right here. As we were cooking and spending that time together in the kitchen, she'd tell me stories about learning from her Nonna, her time in Italy. And then you get to transcend those stories into the next generation like we spoke about earlier. We're going to take it off the heat and we're going to put it into a bowl. So we're going to add our rice into our beef and tomato paste and water mixture. And then we're going to use, like you said, the Roman influence. We're going to use that Pecorino Romano cheese that adds a little bit of saltiness into the dish, because we're not seasoning the beef, and we're not even seasoning it after we add the tomato paste and the water into it, okay?
So the simplicities here is
very
really
simple. Yep, absolutely.
To be celebrated.
And at the end of the day, if everybody focuses on cooking as nothing more than time and temperature management, it really takes some of that intimidating factor that people intend to run into when they cook in their house, right?
I think that's the truth, man. Like people just kind of get, they love what they have at the restaurant. They want to try it again at the house, but then they don't know how to do it.
Correct.
And then they lose that confidence to say, no, you can do this.
Yeah.
You can do this.
Yeah, there's nothing that makes me more special than cooking in a restaurant than anybody else cooking at home, right?
I love that. All right.
And then you can just buy traditional Italian breadcrumbs, seasoned with Italian seasoning. It usually has a little Parmesan or Pecorino added into that as well, and you're gonna add that in, okay? Then we're gonna bind this all together by using 3 eggs, okay? We're gonna take 3 eggs and we're gonna crack them into a bowl, and then we're gonna whip them together and add that into this mixture. And then I always say, whenever incorporating anything, baking, pastries, and especially something like a filling or something that we're gonna roll into a ball, that getting some gloves on, washing your hands very well, and getting in there and mixing it together is the best way, because at the end of the day, you're gonna wanna incorporate all of these ingredients so that when you end up frying this soupli and you bite into it, you don't get one that's all breadcrumb and one that's all meat mixture, and you want it evenly distributed.
No one wants that. You have to have consistency.
And as we start to incorporate this, and listen, As you cook at home, and this is the best thing about cooking, if there's something that you wanted to add into this, if there's something you want to omit to this, I know some people, when I've showed my friends how to make it, they add a little bit of ground pork, ground veal, and maybe add a little bit of Italian seasoning if they want to spice it up, a little cayenne pepper or hot sauce.
Maybe a little crushed red pepper flake or something like that, just to kind of give a little more heat.
You can add a little bit more cheese if you want it cheesier. But this consistency here, kind of like you were making a loose meatball, is exactly what you're looking for. And I'm going to show you.
Okay.
Probably a little bit more.
A little bit more than that. Okay.
Okay, gotcha. And then you're going to want to form it and cup it kind of like into a football shape.
Okay.
Perfect. That's great. And then we'll set it right here.
Okay.
That's great. Perfect.
Yeah, I could see how like Nona was like, saying, hey, you're making these, you're taking a few extra home, and then it's like,
absolutely.
This was the breakfast of champions the next day at your house, wasn't it?
Absolutely. And the fact that I was the one usually the day before making 50 of them with her, that getting them to take them home was a nice present and treat.
Love that. All right.
And then you can always keep a little extra water on hand so that if anything starts to stick to your hands while you're forming them, you can just mold them with your hands.
Love it.
Yep, absolutely. Add a little water under your hands to loosen them up. So after we let the supplies firm up in the fridge, okay, they're the perfect consistency, exactly what we're looking for, and we're just going to use standard breading procedure. Seasoned flour that you're going to season with a little salt and pepper, along with just regular beaten eggs, and then those Italian seasoned breadcrumbs, the same type that we put inside the actual mixture of the suppli.
Perfect.
And you just want to, when breading anything, whether it's supplis, meatballs, you want to make sure that you always keep one hand for dry and one hand for wet, all right? That way your hands won't get all clumped up when you're breading things.
It's the worst feeling.
It is. All right, so we've got some done right here. We're going to take the ones that we already have completed and we're going to drop them into the oil. We're going to use vegetable oil. There's a lot of stigma about frying in olive oil. You can fry in olive oil if you want. Just be sure that you know that olive oil's heating point gets up there around 370, 375 degrees and the oil may burn. We've got this oil at about 360 degrees and we're just going to fry these until they're golden brown.
Love it.
And then we're going to enjoy them with a little pomodoro and some vodka sauce on the side for dipping.
All right, I dig it.
And that's exactly using that Italian breadcrumb gives it that kind of smoother breaded feature on the outside rather than if you would use like a panko or a bigger breadcrumb that would make it a little bit more crunchy. And that's exactly what you're looking for. I always like to serve it either with like a marinara, a pomodoro, or a vodka sauce. You can, reach right in. That's exactly what it should look like.
I want to admire the handiwork of this beauty right here and everything all inside that. Come on now. Looks gorgeous. All right, now you got the marinara. I'm going for the vodka sauce.
Way to go.
One of the things that I loved learning from you today, and I hope our viewers did, it's time management, man.
It is, and I understand that cooking at home, especially when trying to replicate a recipe that you see at a restaurant, or even something that you read in a cookbook, can be a little daunting and a little bit intimidating. But if you go in with a plan of attack, you make sure you have the right ingredients, you make sure you measure out the right ingredients and get them ready for you so you don't have to be running back and forth once the heat comes on. We talked about it a little bit earlier, time and temperature management. We can always fiddle around with it and raise one and lower one, but having to run out of the kitchen to go grab something halfway through,
that's never a good thing. Go to dinnerdeals.com for the full episode with Chef Benjamin. It's where you can also grab the recipe for the soupli, plus his take on a classic carbonara. After the break, another meal from the Mediterranean as we go Greek to have halibut ahead on Dinner Diaz. Welcome back to Dinner Diaz. Our ideas for dinner today all come from restaurants who've impressed inspectors from the Michelin Guide. And in case you're wondering, they eat anonymously, pay for all their meals, and get no special treatment. Still sounds like a good gig, though. Next up, we stay in Tampa to visit with Billy Zecco, executive chef with Predalina, one of only half a dozen Tampa restaurants added to the Michelin Guide in 2024. He joined us to share a recipe for speziota, a Greek specialty fish in tomato sauce.
So I'm taking a pan here. We're gonna get it a little bit hot. We're gonna add a little bit of oil down just so that our garlic and shallots don't stick here. So we're gonna get that down right there. And then we're gonna go ahead and pop this in just nice and all at once, just like that. And we wanna make sure that when we put our garlic and our shallots in the pan, that we're really working them. We don't want anything to stick and adhere to that bottom. So we're gonna sort of just express those flavors and kind of let those aromatics sort of thrive in the pan right now. It's a very important part for any base of a sauce. These are called Vesuvius tomatoes. These are red Vesuvius.
Like literally from like Mount Vesuvius.
Mount Vesuvius, yes. You know the drill. So these are wonderful. They've got a very great sweet, high sugar content on these tomatoes. Really, really nice. We get them from a great purveyor, Sogno Toscano.
So let me ask you, would Tampa Bay tomatoes work for this one here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So we don't have to go to Italy for these ones here. We can literally get these right here from Tampa Bay?
Absolutely. You can get them straight from Publix right down the road, no worries.
Now, what are you doing right now with these olives?
So right now, these are Castelvetrano olives. These are phenomenal olives. Beautiful, bright vibrancy here. You've got this nice green hue on these bad boys. We're gonna go ahead and throw some white wine in there. We're gonna put a little bit of fennel in here, some toasted fennel. As we add the marinara, that wine is gonna continue to cook out in this dish. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add our capers in here.
Okay.
And we're gonna add our olives in here. And we're just gonna let this sauce go here for about 30 minutes or so. This halibut has just been seasoned with a little bit of our Predolina spice blend. I'm gonna do 2 pieces at once right here. We're gonna go right down.
Now, could you use frozen?
Yeah, oh,
You could.
absolutely. You could use frozen. You could even use a piece of grouper. We're gonna go ahead and take some of this sauce and really just go a nice, healthy amount down right into this bowl here. You know, this fish has been going here for about 6 minutes. It's a little bit thicker of a piece. We're gonna go ahead and pick it up and plate it.
Very nice.
So we're just gonna go right here, front and center on this dish. And it's just gonna sit right there, beautiful in that sauce. And then we're gonna take a little bit of our spice blend here, our famous Predolina spice blend, and we're just gonna go right over the top here and just give it a little dash.
How important is it to make sure that you're seasoning after you take a protein off of a hot surface?
I think it is important. I think especially with like Maldon salt or finishing salts, I mean it's that last chance to give that protein a little pizzazz, a little character before it touches the table.
Beautiful. Now walk us through these flavors. What should we be tasting for here?
So first and foremost, we're looking for a really nice brininess, right? This dish is all about the brine. It's all about the olives. It's all about the capers, the pop, accompanied by the nice sweetness and the sort of acid from those tomatoes that helps tenderize and sort of break down that fish.
But not just from the tomatoes, because you added lemon juice at the end. And then you also added just a little bit more vinegar, was it?
White balsamic.
The white balsamic vinegar.
And it just plays really nicely in here. It sort of just helps, you know, once again, round out those flavor profiles of the Speziota sauce.
Which is killer.
Find the full episode with Chef Billy and grab the recipe for halibut speziota at dinnerdeals.com. There's also a side he made of roasted zucchini you're gonna love. After the break, another dish from a chef who impressed inspectors from Michelin. Though this time we're doing dessert, a sensational strawberry rhubarb cobbler. Ahead on Dinner Deals. Welcome back to Dinner Deals. All this week, we're making meals with chefs from restaurants that you'll find in the renowned Michelin Guide. Whether they've earned a star, a Bib Gourmand, their award for great value, or just simply recommended, getting in the guide isn't easy, but our area has dozens who've done just that. Another one of which is Elevage, the restaurant at the Epicurean Hotel in Tampa's Hyde Park. But don't let the fancy name fool you. The guide calls the cooking here down to earth with a menu whose flavors confidently span the globe. Their executive chef, John Antonaccio, joined us to share a dessert recipe inspired by a dish he had in New York over a decade earlier.
First time I had strawberry rhubarb pie, blew me away, and I've never turned back, and I've tried to replicate it ever since.
So this has been like literally the whole thing. This is like, I gotta get back to those flavors.
Yep, absolutely.
Take us there with you right now. How do we get this started then?
Okay, so what we have here, all of our ingredients, we got some quartered strawberries. So we're gonna add those to the bowl. It's just super simple. We got some rhubarb here.
Now for those that have never had rhubarb before, what does it taste like?
Raw, tastes like nothing. It's,
Okay.
it's like just like a very green vegetable. But when you cook it and add sugar, it's cool because it's kind of bitter. So bitter and sweet go together. It's so nice together.
Because it looks almost like a celery almost, right?
Yeah, it looks like red celery, exactly.
That was just a little bit of some basil and then also some mint.
And a little bit of mint, yes.
Okay.
Then, obviously, sugar, elderflower liqueur,
Okay.
which is like kind of like the little secret we like to add to it just to give it a little bit of more freshness.
Okay.
A little pinch of salt, because salt will make sugar sweeter. Just a little bit of flour.
Okay.
So this is like your like cheat as far as making if you want it to like be like lava. So flour, sugar. Here we're gonna add a little bit of brown sugar. A little pinch of salt. Ginger. This almost like comes off smelling like Christmas a little bit.
Okay.
So good.
Okay.
A little bit of cinnamon, allspice, and nutmeg.
So this butter's melting down.
And then what you want to do, so this is the most important, you just want to have a fork ready to go.
Okay.
So what you want to do is you want to pour it over. I mean, you could pour it all at once. Get the rest of that to melt. And this is all you're doing.
You're letting the fork just work its way through to
That's
just
it.
lightly bring all of that butter into all of our dry ingredients. Is that right?
That's right. Basically, the chunkies is what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So all we're gonna do is you have your baking casserole pan. I'm just gonna put the fruit in first. Remember, you want all that liquid and juice in there. That's the best part.
That is everything. Oh.
All right, just evenly distribute. Oh, this looks better than I thought it would. We're gonna take your streusel topping, and this is where you could use it. I'm just gonna use my hands.
This is okay now to just have that nice crumble.
Right, you kind of you don't want them too big because you want to be able to get it all over, and that's it.
Okay.
Super simple.
So now this is going to go into the oven. How long?
I would say about 20 minutes to 30 minutes. You
Okay.
kind of want to keep an eye on it.
Keep an eye on it.
Depending on the color you want.
And we've had this inside the oven baking away 30 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy, look at that. Okay, I've literally been smelling it the entire time, and like, I just gotta go in for one more smell of that one because it's like so exciting.
And all you're looking for is a nice toasty on top and those nice thick bubbles.
And that's when you know that it's completely
That's
done.
how you know it's done.
Okay. You can't have a cobbler without ice cream.
Nope, not at all.
Strawberries, rhubarb, melting vanilla ice cream. I mean, is there anything better than that? Oh wait, I know. Is it the crumbles?
It's the crumble.
It's all about that. Find the recipe for Chef John's cobbler and the full episode at dinnerdeals.com, including how he does the dinner his wife loves. His self-described one-pan wonder. When we come back, we have just enough time for some shrimp and some succotash ahead on Dinner Diaz. Welcome back to Dinner Diaz. We're digging through the recipe box all this week to revisit with chefs who not only shared ideas for dinner with us, but also managed to earn themselves a spot in the Michelin Restaurant Guide. Before the break, we had a rhubarb recipe from Chef John Antonaccio from Elevage and Tampa's Epicurean Hotel. But before we leave you today, let's meet Chef Jerry Sizemore from Haven in Tampa, a restaurant that the Michelin Guide describes as charming, quirky, and convivial. And he joined us to share a recipe for a fried shrimp taco inspired by childhood summers in North Carolina, his Calabash shrimp tacos.
So we use rock shrimp here just to give a little ode to the Gulf of Mexico. So Calabash Seafood is a region in North Carolina. It's a coastal fishing town, and fried seafood is a staple of what they do. That's kind of the style of what we're imitating today. We can go ahead and put our shrimp in here and just let them sit in that batter while we get our dry together. I have some flour, I have some smoked paprika, I have some black pepper. I'm gonna put it all in there. A little bit of garlic powder, so a very simple dredge. And then we're also gonna steal some salt from your side of the
Pass one over.
ballpark over here. Yeah. Sweet. So we're just gonna kind of like lightly whisk that all together just so it's all incorporated. And we're pretty much ready. So we're gonna take the shrimp out of the dredge, we're gonna put it in here, and then we're ready to fry.
Can't wait.
All right, so just make sure we're nice and mixed up here. You kind of want to just get the edge of the fork or spoon here so you get as much of the egg off of it, but I like a little extra egg batter, little crunchy bits.
Okay.
It's kind of good in my opinion. So we're just gonna take all the shrimp out of there. You could use like a slotted spoon here if you wanna get it all out, or you could pour it off into another pan and drain it off completely.
Now, could you use frozen shrimp in this dish?
You could absolutely use frozen shrimp. It does not have to be rock shrimp. If you'd like fried fish better, you could do that with the same recipe. This is a very versatile, you can switch it up a lot. Say you don't like garlic, you could use onion powder. Say you want it to be spicy, you could use cayenne here instead of the smoked paprika.
Okay.
It's very important when you're frying at home. We did use a thermometer for this, so you don't want to really exceed anything above like 375 degrees. You want to stay somewhere in the pocket of about 350 degrees is kind of your optimal frying. You just have to be careful when you're frying at home. I tell people all the time, you can definitely fry at home. You just really have to take that extra care and be
safe.
Very diligent. Yeah, just make sure you're using a thermometer at home and not really exceeding those high temperatures, and it should be fine. We're going on into the bath. That's kind of what we're looking for. Yep.
I love that. That's going to go so well within these tortillas.
We'll put some down here at the bottom to kind of line it, and we'll put another one piece for good luck. Make sure it's a nice, good portion, right?
Very cool. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers. I really like finger foods, so I think my favorite part about this is I can use my hands.
And I purposely want to get that shrimp right there.
That's the best part. You get a little crunch snack afterwards.
It's that little crunch, and it's that batter. It's the flavor that's behind it. Dude, this was absolutely out of this world fantastic. To grab the recipe for all the parts of this delicious dish, go to dinnerdeals.com, where you can even watch the whole show again if you want to. Tomorrow, we wrap up our week of Michelin meals with more restaurants who are added to the guide in 2025. I'm Jeff Philbin. Thanks for watching, and see you next time with more ideas for dinner, or as we call them, Dinner Diaz.